stand on the edge of the fiscal cliff. Now, if nothing is done, as we ring in the new year, $1 trillion will be hacked out of the Defense Department and out of Medicare in equal measure, and automatic tax hikes will suck almost $500 billion more dollars out of the productive economy just by next October. So what's a responsible Republican congressman to do? Would you believe raise taxes? I'm Steve Green. This is Trifecta, and today we're going to talk about the unthinkable. We're going to think the unthinkable with my Trifecta cellmates, Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. All right, I don't want us to talk about the merits of raising taxes on job creators in this economy. We all know that's a bad idea. So, Bill, my thinking is if we go over this fiscal cliff, it'll send the country into a depression or close to it. Then once again, the GOP becomes the party of Herbert Hoover. And the only way to get a deal is to give in on raising those taxes on millionaires and billionaires. I hate to be right this time. Am I?
Boy, this is really a tough issue, Steve, honestly. I'd like to joke about this, but this is actually a profoundly important decision that the House Republicans are going to have to make. Obama ran a campaign for his reelection basically saying, look, of all the miracles I would have accomplished if it hadn't been for that obstructionist Republican Congress, which was really just the House, obviously, the Tea Party people that were sent in there to stop Obamacare. That's all they were there for, really, was to stop Obamacare, but it didn't happen. Now the question becomes, if you fight to block everything, you do become the party of no, and then all of the failures of the Obama administration get pinned on your desk because of the media, because of the angel of death that the Democrats have on their side that flies low over the land and slaughters the truth and spins stories the way they want to. So there's definitely a case to be made to be saying, look, on the fiscal issues, you've insisted this will work. We're going to let you show the American people what a catastrophe this is. But be advised that we are dead set against this. We think it's appalling, and vote present.
That's a vicious idea, and I love it. One of my commenters at Vodka Pundit came up with that, and I own it and call it my own. Scott, the Republicans really walked into a trap on this one last year when they agreed to the sequester. I mean, this fiscal cliff. It's not a natural disaster. It's something the GOP and the Democrats created together on purpose. But there's a trap the Republicans can set now. President Obama has sold this tax on millionaires and billionaires as a cure-all. So why not give it to him and see if it works or if it's just another one of his failed policies?
Well, yeah, and Congressman Paul Ryan has frequently referred to this as sort of the most foreseen, preventable disaster in the history of mankind. Yep. We've known it was coming for a long time. Nobody really believed that the sequester deal was legitimate. And now, it was just buying them time to weasel out of it. My prediction, by the way, up front is that they will again figure out a way to buy time to weasel out of it. But there's something to be said for saying, hey, you guys won fair and square, and we can do nothing but obstruct you at this point, so we're going to give you a 2-year trial and make it very clear that within a certain circumscribed set of circumstances and legislation, we're going to let you have a trial of your way so that you can't constantly say, as you always do, that the only reason your way doesn't work is because the Republicans have blocked it. Now, even as I say that, the little constitutional student inside of me raises his ugly head and says, you know what? Our whole system of government was established so that a wrong-headed majority couldn't trample the rights of the minority. And James Madison, get off my shoulder.
No, he needs to stay there. He needs to stay there, and he needs to issue those warnings all the time, or maybe we go off the cliff. And by the way, Democratic strategist Susan Estrich, she sees the trap coming. She wrote a column just the day after I wrote mine just about this, telling Obama to drop his insistence on higher taxes. She knows what's coming. All right, Bill, maybe you haven't been keeping up on current events, but we just got our asses kicked, pal. Isn't this the price, one of the prices conservative Americans are going to have to pay for not showing up at the polls 2 weeks ago?
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over. Why don't we find ourselves a little 4-year-old girl and put her in charge? Yeah, man.
No, we've already got Pelosi.
When you're reduced to quoting aliens, or Hudson, when Hudson becomes the philosophical leader of the Republican Party, you're in real trouble. By the way, I'd like to say from that previous video clip that we just showed, I think half of our country's problems would go away if Barack Obama, John Boehner, and Harry Reid would just go to the trouble of wearing a frickin' tie. You're running the greatest country in the history of the world. You people can wear ties. If you got up and wore ties like regular businessmen, that would show me that you're serious about this. But anyway, look, it's a mess. It's a mess. We're going to get blamed for it if we block these people. We're not going to get any credit if we don't. The entire theory here would be we would have to be aggressively, and I mean every week, saying we are under protest going along with this insanity, right? Because we can't stop it. All we can do is gridlock it, and the American people don't have time for this anymore. People need, I've been saying this since the election, and it's going to be my mantra for the rest of the next 4 years. People need to feel the consequences of voting for socialism. And so now they voted for socialism. So let's get those taxes up and let's get all this stuff up. And look, if we're wrong and the economy takes off, then we're wrong and everything's copacetic. But if we're not wrong, we need to put a marker down for us saying we were against this. We gave it to you anyway. Look at what happened. You get to rule over the ruins.
Sad ruins. All right, Scott, as long as these negotiations drag on, the Democrats and their mainstream media allies will make Boehner and Eric Cantor and Paul Ryan, they are the story. And while they're the story, we lose. Isn't it time to change the subject to something where we have a hope of scoring a win for once?
Well, yes. And frankly, if I did nothing but look from my point in history right here and look forward, I think I could make a reasonable argument for this case of saying, let's just let them have what they want so that they can no longer blame us. Unfortunately, I am like Janus, the god who looks forward and backward at the same time. And what I see looking backward is a 2-year period in which Democrats controlled the House and the Senate and the White House. They had all of the levers of power and somehow failed to put in place their ingenious plan to jack up taxes on the rich and everything that they say now that they want to do. The reality is, for many, not just Democrats, frankly, for many in Congress, the bold votes come when you're not able to carry out your plan. The cowardice sets in when you get a majority.
Wow, there's plenty of that on Capitol Hill, and Scott Ott's godlike powers of observation. All right, folks, any good conservative or libertarian will tell you, just as Bill said, bad choices ought to hurt. Well, Americans chose poorly on November 6th, and here comes the pain. All we're left with now is either sending the entire country off the fiscal cliff or making a deal we don't like and living to fight another day on a more important issue. And maybe next time we will choose wisely. For PJTV, I'm Steve Green.